All right, all right. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Todd Durkin. If I have not had the opportunity to meet you, you are in for a treat today. The next 45 minutes, we are bringing the absolute heat. This is webinar number 2 of a 4-part webinar series sponsored by my friends over at California Almonds. California Almonds, let me tell you what, someone today is going to win a year's worth of almonds just for being on the show today. And someone who was on webinar 1 yesterday is winning in just a matter of moments. My friends, today I want to talk about leadership. And when I talk about leadership, there's nothing more important than right now at this very precarious time as I record this live with you here on July 9th, 2020. Now, if you listen to this on a recording later on, don't worry. The principles on leadership that we share, my friend Andrew Simpson and I share today, is going to be principle-based, things that will get you through the stormiest, most difficult, challenging times of your life. And right now in this crazy time that we're all living in, if you're a trainer, coach, fit pro, you're a gym owner, you're a green trainer who just started and you're like, man, what am I doing? Or you just open your business prior to the pandemic. My friends, we're going to talk about leadership today, and it's going to go deep. If you had not had the opportunity to review about the webinar and someone brought you and said, hey, you got to go to this webinar series, guys, when it comes to leadership, one thing about leadership is leadership deals with human beings. And as we go deep in today, it is going to be awesome. A quick little background about myself. I started Fitness Quest 10, my gym, 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I started Fitness Quest 10, no money, no clients, no business plan. And since that time, we've had the opportunity now to grow to 35 teammates. So I've got 35 employees on my team, started as a one-person show, now 35 people later, and hundreds of clients at Fitness Quest 10 and thousands of people that we impact worldwide. I want to talk about leadership today and what that means. But before I go there, I want to make sure that I bring in Jenny Heap. Now, folks, today, Fueling Fitness episode number 2. This is the second of that 4-part webinar series sponsored by California Almonds. Just a couple of housekeeping rules and notes. Please, in the chat box, if you are putting right now your city, state, and country, or you want to say hello, you can do that in the chat box. But if you have a question, please put in the Q&A section so that Andrew and I can answer your questions later on. It'll be very helpful that I can see that in the WebEx control panel. I'll take 15 minutes today. 15 whopping minutes to answer your questions. So a huge shout out to the Almond Board of California for sponsoring today's webinar, yesterday's and next week's as well. Mark your calendar now. Mark it now for next Tuesday and Wednesday. Same bat channel, same bat time. Everyone know what I'm talking about? Yeah, 12:30 on the West Coast, 3:30 on the East Coast. Next Tuesday, I'm joined by Trina Gray, the one and only Trina Gray. And then the following day, next Wednesday, I've got my man, GM of Fitness Quest 10, Jeff Bristol, talking about operating a hybrid model in the fitness space now. So without further ado, I want to introduce my friend, Jenny Heap from the California Almond Board. Jenny?
Hey, thanks, Todd. So
You're
as
welcome.
I mentioned yesterday, we're so thrilled to be able to support all of you fitness pros through this series with Todd, especially for this time as you guys are helping your clients navigate this new normal that we're all dealing with. And we hope that this series will help you navigate your businesses to the next level. So again, we're here because we feel that almonds are a perfect snack for fueling fitness. Todd, another fun fact about almonds, each serving provides 20% of the daily value for magnesium.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, almonds are actually one of the top food sources for this nutrient. Now, your clients may not know how important magnesium is, especially for athletes, but magnesium is actually involved in nearly every process that affects muscle function, including energy production, oxygen uptake, kind of important, and electrolyte balance. Even a marginal deficiency in magnesium can impair exercise performance, so make sure your clients are getting enough of this. One more thing, to ensure that at least one lucky client out there gets enough magnesium. Of course, as you mentioned, we held a drawing yesterday.
One winner. Let's go.
Some lucky winner is going to be able to gift to their favorite client a year's supply of almonds, and we'll do another drawing today. So today's winner, can you give me a drum roll, Todd?
I got the drum roll. Who we got?
Okay. Today's winner is Tim Urbanic.
Tim Urbanic. Yes. Tim Urbanic. Fantastic. So what does he get?
So
he gets, man, almonds for a year?
Yes. Yeah. Well, his favorite client gets almonds for a year. So congratulations, Tim.
Ooh, I like that. So, congratulations, Tim.
And for everyone who didn't win the drawing today, of course, we'll have another drawing tomorrow. But all of you U.S.-based pros are still eligible to order our Fueling Fitness tin kit, complete with 25 tins filled with almonds, plus some educational materials for your clients. So be sure to look out for the survey that you'll be getting in your email next week. At the end of the survey, you'll find the tin kit order form. So please be sure to fill that out, get it back to us, and we'll get you a tin kit. Todd, back to you.
Well, thank you, Jay. I really appreciate that. And folks, Tim won because he was on yesterday's webinar. If you're on today's webinar, you're going to be announced. Someone from this webinar today on leadership is going to be announced next Tuesday. Next Tuesday will be the first thing I announce on Tuesday when I'm talking to Miss Trina Gray on that presentation. So just by being here today, you are eligible to win for one of your clients or members almonds for a complete year. And they're going to receive at the end of all this, as far as winning that kit, getting that kit, they're going to get a survey at the end they got to fill out. Correct, Jenny? I believe that is correct. So, guys, to order that kit, fill out the order form. You're going to get it all because you're here today. Guys, what an awesome, awesome opportunity. Take advantage of that. I want to introduce right now Mr. Andrew Simpson. Folks, if you have not had the opportunity to listen to this guy, Andrew Simpson is one special man. Now, I've had the opportunity to know him since 2014. He started PFP down in Frederick, Maryland, and since that time, I'll give you the formal introduction. He's the creator of the Winning Athlete Formula. He's helping parents and coaches to increase their effectiveness and influence with their athletes. Andrew has just authored a new book called The Youth Truth. Youth Truth, Coaching and Parenting in Today's Crazy Youth Sports World. We need youth sports back, by the way, Andrew. We got to talk about that later on. But Andrew and his team are committed to igniting the change and building up millions of confident, successful leaders around the world. And most importantly, when Andrew has spoken at my 3.5-day mentorship before, it's always been on leadership. And I've always touted him as one of the strongest leaders of anyone I know. He spent a lot of time in the Dave Ramsey world, in the Maxwell world, in leadership development. He has a leadership company, and he even has something for his team now, unlike any fitness professional I've ever seen in any way. He's got a profit-sharing plan with his team that later on he'll talk about. But Andrew, welcome to the webinar, brother.
TD, thanks for the introduction, brother.
And did I leave anything out? Did I leave anything out about your bio because you have so many great things?
No, man. Aside from you see the little guy right there, that's the newest part of my bio, Jack.
Andrew, at PFP right now, how many teammates do you have at PFP?
We've got 16 and looking to hire a couple more in the next couple months. So right around 16 to 20.
Okay, so you're growing again. You're growing.
You got it.
And Jack will be your newest teammate, I'm sure, within a matter of no time. Hey, today we're going to talk leadership, and folks, as you look at the slides right here, we're going to talk a lot of different things. I want to talk about what leadership is, the 5 leadership tips for high performers to increase morale. Right now, it's essential that we have morale, that we keep retention of our employees, our teammates that we spend so much time and energy recruiting to our teams. How do we keep them on our teams and keep them growing? And how do we create a culture of excellence on our teams? Well, learn the difference between a vision and mission statement, because right now we have to have those and they got to be refined, and defining what that means. And then how the heck do you create an ownership mentality? And I want to talk about that because today on my manifesto when it comes to leadership, I'm going to drop down the gauntlet of what does it mean to step up right now and offer some great leadership in the most difficult, challenging, and tough times. Andrew, as we're talking, I want to just remind everyone to ask your biggest and most important leadership questions. Where do you do that? In the Q&A box. So right now, on anything that you're struggling with leadership-wise, I want you all to make sure you do that, all right? And then when it comes to leadership, Andrew, how would you even define leadership?
Yeah, that's a good question. The way that it makes me think of the most common answer that you hear all the time, and it's true, which is leadership is influence. But for me, that's not super helpful. So I ask the question, how do I do, instead of what is leadership, I like to ask the question, how do I do leadership better? I think that leadership, when it comes down to it, if you're talking about influence, it's actually being able to influence the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, the behaviors of your team members. And that's what it comes down to for me.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. And when you talk about that, you've heard me talk about this before, most likely, but I love this. A leader of one, a leader of many. If you can't lead one, you can't lead any. So how are you leading yourselves? Folks, I'll say this to the day I die, but man, we got to be leading ourselves impeccably well on all areas of our life, right? I actually reviewed a few quotes I want to share with you about leadership, and I like this. This one's from Brian Tracy. Become the kind of leader that people would follow voluntarily, even if you had no title or position. That's good. Jack Welch, before you're a leader, success is all about growing yourself. When you become a leader, success is all about growing others. That's good. John Maxwell, a successful person finds the right place for him or herself, but a successful leader finds the right place for others. Do you see something going on here? Leadership is about others. And one of my favorite quotes of all time, teamwork makes the dream work. Have you ever heard that one? Teamwork makes the dream work. Well, it does, but a vision becomes a nightmare when the leader has a big dream and a bad team. If you have a bad team, you have a big vision, man, we got to make sure we button up today. On this webinar today, I want to ask you some challenging questions throughout today about what big, important leadership decisions are you going to make today based on your vision, based on your mission, and where you're going. Because, man, if you don't have the right team around you right now, man, you could have a great vision, but it's going to be tough to execute that vision and mission as well. And then lastly, leaders who are effective are leaders who are disciplined in their daily lives. And I find this right now is really important because discipline is one of the most challenging things that anyone can do. Just an hour before this webinar, I was at a football field with one of the quarterbacks I work with. His name is Drew Brees. This is going into year 20 for Drew. And I was talking to Drew about discipline, the discipline to the practices to master your craft. Coaches and trainers, we have to have the same discipline that an MVP quarterback would do in our businesses and our lives. The same maniacal focus when it comes to training and nutrition and leading and communicating, these things that are absolutely important. You know, yesterday I shared this. If you were here with me yesterday, you saw this. I'm not going to go through it all, but I do want to say this. If you're a leader, you've got to lead on all areas of these. You're going to lead on your purpose. You got to continually seek out your heart. You got to seek out people who you want to learn from and how you and who you want to grow from. The programs, how are you leading your programs right now? How are you communicating your programs to your members and clients right now? Because if you're anything like me and at Fitness Quest 10 or like Andrew and PFP Performance, then right now you've probably pivoted and changed the marketing, the promotion, the processes, and the profits. Again, I talked about yesterday, profits in this 6 P's to success and significance isn't necessarily money. It's the profit on all areas, including the growth of other folks. So the 6 P's is a review. Andrew, if you could just talk about when we look at high performance companies and you've had the chance to study with them, learn from them, grow from them, teams and organizations, what do they do to build iconic cultures and brands?
So the first thing that it shows on there, something that I learned from Dave Ramsey when I went down to Nashville to their Master Series event was, and I implemented this right away. If you're like me, maybe in the beginning, you started to bring on team members and then you lost some really good ones. The best ones, the common, I think, thought process among a lot of fitness business owners is if you attract really good people, eventually they're going to go do their own thing. And so when I went down to Dave Ramsey and learned from him, I realized he had crafted, I gathered this through my own observation, he had crafted such a big vision that any of the best team members that ever came in to work for him, even they would be able to fit into that vision. And what a lot of times I see is I don't think that we prioritize the importance of vision casting quite enough. So craft a big enough vision for anyone to fit into. That would be my first lesson, yeah.
Love it, love it. What about the next one, create a culture of growth?
We're actually in the process of doing this right now, making some organizational shifts. Todd, you guys went through this, I believe it was last year, where growing leaders within your company, not just having trainers and then owner, but actually having a path for growth. I'll give the quick example of ours. Intern, coach, head coach, director of coaching, and then we're working to build it out even further now, but that's kind of the level that we're at right now. So as the owner, spending time creating what the path for growth for a potential team member looks like.
Yeah. Let me ask you all a question. Can you please put your answer in the chat box? Do any of you feel stuck right now in your careers? You feel stuck in your business? Yes or no? Do you feel stuck? Please put in the chat box right now, yes or no. The reason why I ask, as you put in your answers, because Andrew, you just alluded to something. A few years ago, I felt stuck. I felt stuck in my own growth. Now, you from the outside might be like, oh, but Todd, you've done this, this, and this, and this. And you know what? One thing I've learned about accolades is they're somewhat fleeting. And you always wonder, like, what's next? What's next? What's next? You're always searching what's next. But deep down in my spirit and my soul, I needed to go to another level. I needed to make some changes in my own life, in my own business. And it took for me going through my knee replacement and even the process of writing my book, and I share about some of the difficult changes I made organizationally. Because for many years, the gal who's sitting right next to my side right now going on this webinar, she was the GM at Fitness Quest 10 for 13 years. And then we shifted all of these folks that were in roles that I shifted them. And, Julie on my team took over the director of operations at Todd Durkin Enterprises, and Jeff Bristol, who you're here from next Wednesday. He ascended from a front desk person to a trainer, to the lead trainer, to the assistant GM, up into the general manager position. And we took other folks and added some leadership roles and responsibilities to them. That change was very challenging, but I knew it had to be done in order to get to another level. Have you ever said to yourself, like, or you've said, like, man, everything is good, but there's another level. And everything is good, but I know there's greatness that's there, but I don't know how to get there. This is the stuff that when it comes to leadership, that whether you need to hear it from me or you need to hear it from someone else in your circle of influences, right now, I want you to think deeply about what are the changes that you need to make within your organization or in your life as you seek out your vision and your purpose for your life. Is what changes are necessary for you to create the impact that you want to create. And then all of a sudden, you'll start to do that. Because if you feel stuck, if you feel like, man, especially now all the uncertainty, I'm not going to do anything, you're feeling like this kind of purgatory action, that's not a good feeling. So I want to make sure that we continue to grow on that. And then, Andrew, another thing with leadership is communication. And you talk about here, communicate beliefs. Talk about that.
I think the simplest thing is you can't tell somebody that you believe in them enough. One of your team members, you can't tell them that enough. It feels good every time. But then the way that you show people you believe in them is by giving them responsibilities that you truthfully don't even know if they'll fully be able to fulfill, but you know that you have to give it to them in order to show that you truly believe in them. So I think communicating beliefs goes through your words, but then also your actions as a leader.
Amen. Amen. And as you guys are going through this and listening to this, some of you are answering the questions about, being stuck, and some of you may not be stuck. The only thing I would implore you to do is continue to ask yourself, am I tapping into my full potential? If the answer is yes, fantastic. You're purpose-driven. You're right on track, and that's what we want. Leaders, the best leaders in the world, also have to make the toughest decisions. They have to make decisions that require you to sometimes go against the grain for what's the norm. Even if your team thinks one way and you listen and you take it all in, sometimes the toughest leaders have to make decisions that are not popular. Andrew, talk about a recent example that maybe you could share about something like that.
Yeah, so we're going through, I just finished up a conversation 2 hours ago with somebody who I've been leading for 6 years now. He's been with PFP since the beginning, and he's been leading other people. He's been leading a couple coaches, and I've recognized through a lot of thoughtful consideration that this person on our team would be best suited to be all in as a coach again and not be leading other people. So I sit down with this person and say, look, we're going to, you can call it demoting a person or whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, we're taking responsibility away from that person. So that's a tough call, but at the end of the day, your job is to make people better. It's not always to make them happy.
Well, you're right on. I think the best leaders have the ability to tap in and discover what the gifts are of the people whom they're working with or hiring. And I'm going to talk about the hiring process in a moment, but when I talk about gifts, like if you ever taken any kind of a strength finders or any kind of a test to discover gifts, one of the biggest mistakes I once made is I had a trainer who was a standout trainer. I mean, this guy was so great with people. He was so fiery and energetic that the natural evolution was we had to ascend him up the ranks. Well, this guy, we put him in as an assistant manager. This is about 10 years ago. Let me tell you what, it took the life out of him. it took the life out of him, because now all of a sudden he wasn't doing what one of his gifts was to do as an encourager in the role as a trainer. He was born to be a trainer. But I thought that would be a great way for him to continue climbing the ladder. Big mistake, and it literally deflated him, and he ended up quitting Fitness Quest 10 because it just took it out of him. And I was like, man, that's a big mistake that I made. Of sometimes you want to take people into a role that they don't want, or they're not, their gifts aren't there. And even as a leader today, I'm always asking myself, am I tapping into that person's gifts and giving them the growth opportunities that's best for them? Because that's an important role. Something to share there, Andrew?
Yeah, TD. So I think the enemy that we all fight, I fight it every day. The enemy of making tough calls is fear of what might happen, fear of the unknown. And for me, I now try to look at it as, is this decision irreversible? Most of the time it's not. Most of the time it's reversible, and that you can ultimately give yourself some calm and peace with making those tough calls, knowing that as the leader, you could change things back if you want.
Absolutely. The other thing I would share is this. Has anyone ever been here before where you want greatness for someone more than they want it for themselves? See, as a high performer myself, I always want the best for people. Do you ever think about some people are actually happy with what they're doing and they don't want another level? So for me, I'm always looking at like, hey, we got to be the best in the world at what we do. And that's how I think. Some people, okay, when you want greatness more than they want for themselves, you got to keep tapping into that growth opportunities, hoping that they're not in a fixed mindset, but more in a growth mindset. Thank you, Carol Dweck, on this. But that's one of the most frustrating things, that as a leader, as you provide opportunities, you got to realize you got to stoke that fire inside of someone so they want greatness more than you want it for them as well, right? So that's an important aspect, and that's why I put in here, you can only go as far as you grow. Growth is something that we're always working on, because when it comes to working on yourself and growing to another level, what does that become? That becomes your brand. That becomes your culture. That becomes everything that you do. It becomes ubiquitous. And yesterday I shared about my Credo card. If you didn't see that, you're going to receive that. The vision's where you're going. The mission's what you're doing to accomplish your purpose, and your values, your core values. What do you value in your team, your company, yourself? Andrew, can you touch upon these, please? Because I know you are extremely purpose-driven. You're extremely guided by, heck, we were just talking yesterday on the call about your vision. Talk about these, please.
Starting with vision, you're right. You and I just had a conversation last night, and you had to remind me of my vision. So it's like, vision is one of those things that if you don't constantly keep it in front of your own eyeballs, then it's very easy to go off track. So you need people in your corner that are going to help you, keep your eyes on the vision, so that you don't end up going in directions that you're not meant to go. But yeah, vision, where are you going? I think we might talk about it later on in this presentation, but for us, as an entire team, kind of like a choir, every single Monday morning, we get around a circle and we do our all hands meeting, all 15, 16 of us, and we all recite the vision out loud. And it's funny, it's goofy. In fact, when we were doing it over Zoom, when we were doing virtual meetings, everyone was all delayed, so it ended up sounding horrible. But we still read it together every single day, because as a leader, your most important responsibility is to keep the strategy and the direction out in front.
What is your vision? Do you know that by heart, or do you read it?
I have it changes, it crystallizes, I would say, over time. But our vision is more than just a gym. If I'm honest, our vision is a coaching company that has hundreds of team members. I don't know how many hundreds of team members we will have, but we've got coaches all around the world who are impacting people through our unique way of doing things, our unique system of influencing people. And so that's, not to go too much into our own personal vision, but yeah, we've got a huge vision with hundreds of team members. And we always share pieces of that, which include, we have four pillar vision. I'll kind of leave it at that for everybody on today. We've got a 4-pillar vision that includes different, I would say, avenues of impact, books, online, coaching groups, and all of our team members in some capacity can see themselves fitting into at least one of those pillars that goes just beyond being a coach for the rest of their lives at a gym, if that's not what they truly want to do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's our vision. Yep.
Well, I think the big thing with this, folks, is this. How do you work on your vision? Where do you work on your vision? Where do you do it? How do you do it? And how do you do it right now in the midst of a storm? Is it important to work on your vision right now? Is it important to reflect on your vision right now? Absolutely, the answer is yes. Here's where and how you work on your vision. And I want to encourage all of you to do this. The best way to work on your vision is to step away right now from the craziness. Like literally, you're in the foxhole. We talked about the foxhole yesterday. You're in the foxhole. The bullets are flying. It's tough to work on your vision when you're actually in it right now. How do you plan for a day off where you literally open up your journal and you ask, what do I want for my life? When my life is over in 50 years or whenever it may be, what do I want my life to look like? What's the impact that I want to create? I share about this in my Get Your Mind Right book when we talk about, your life's purpose and vision and tapping into your whispers. It's that constant question about your why. Why do I exist? Why does my business exist? If you're just being busy to be busy, then you're not being very purposeful. As my mentor Wayne Cotton often shared, it's more important to be a strategist than an opportunist. Right now, if there's opportunities that are popping up because you're busy, it's a really draining experience to be busy and to be busy doing the wrong things for your life or for your business. So I ask you right now, it's even on a sheet of paper, to put things on a piece of paper on a left side and a right side. What are the things that are driving you and keeping you close to what your vision is? How do you answer that question? It's with the 5 things that light up your soul. What are the 5 things that light your soul up? For me, this is one of them. Speaking, writing, training, leading, and family time are the 5 things that light my soul up. What are your 5? As a matter of fact, I would love in the chat room right now for you to share the 5. Because if you can't share your 5, then you're saying yes to things that you shouldn't be saying yes to. I need you to say yes to things that are going to light you up, because when you're lit up, I feel you. Your community feels you. Your clients and community feels you, everything that you do. But if you're not lit up, if you're not energized, at least 80% of the time, then you're just going to be mundane and boring. And that's not good, because that's not a way to live life. So it's absolutely essential when it comes to your vision right now is to step away, even with the craziness right now, and to work on your life and to work on your business. That's why Andrew and folks in the mastermind, we step away a couple times a year to actually work for 3 days in the mountains on your business and your life and your relationships and everything else. Step away, what I recommend, 1 to 3 days every quarter. 1 to 3 days every quarter. Every 90 days you step away and you write down what you want out of your life. And the decisions you're making in your business, are they leading you to where you want to go? Absolutely important on that. So, Andrew, great points on there. Also, when it comes to core values, I want to add this. At Fitness Quest 10, here's a couple social media posts I made. You got to attract and hire the right people. Attracting and hiring the right people is essential. You got to have the right questions in the interview process, and this is crucial. And by the way, just by you signing up for today's webinar, so thank you for signing up. You're going to receive all 51 questions from my interview process. Does that mean that I asked all 51 questions? No, but I draw from the 51 questions in that interview process. That's 11 steps in the interview process, because all of that is revolving around your vision, mission, and values during every meeting, every interview that you do. And most importantly, you've got to live your core values all the time. So that's an important aspect. Andrew, anything to add to that before we go into the hiring process?
Yeah, just something really interesting. Lee Cockrell, who was the VP of operations at Walt Disney World, wrote a book called Creating Magic, the 10 common sense principles from a life at Disney, common sense leadership principles from a life at Disney. I just added this to our 15-step hiring process the other day, but he sits down with every single potential hire, and he would go through their entire, for them, they called it their leadership principle formula, something like that. And he spent 3 hours sitting down with this person, a potential candidate, going line by line through it. And all he wanted to do was watch and see how that person was responding. Did they look bored? Did they look unenthused? Were they unmoved? Because he knew if they were unmoved and unenthused about it, they wouldn't be a good fit for Disney's type of culture. So just having certain things within your hiring process that reflect your company's core values, I would say. And you'll get great stuff from people like that.
Well, nowadays you'll see even one of our steps is actually going to check people's social media, because anyone could come into your facility and impress you for an hour. But if you go back and look at their social media, it's actually a biography of the last year or two of their life, and you can see a lot about that. You're trying to gather as much information as possible with that. So your core values and all of these lead to the hiring process. Now you have like, Todd, the hiring process. Are you kidding me? Like, here's the number one thing I talked about earlier on. Your team, okay? Your team is so important for you to be able to fulfill your vision. If you work for a company, you've got to make sure your personal core values align with the company's core values as well. This is crucial. But in the hiring process, it's absolutely essential that you have the right people on your team. So in this 11-step hiring process that we have, this is real quick. Again, you'll have access to all of these. Is we have our team involved, but it's the resumes, it's the phone interview. It's now with Zoom. You can Zoom and have them do a 10 to 20 minute actual live session on that live interview, observation at Fitness Quest 10. Like, for example, hey, Mary, come in and observe for a class, or if you'd like to take a class, come in and hang out for half a day if you would like to. Have them train a staff member. Do the social media check is number 8. Always follow up with references, and when you follow up with references, ask this question: would you rehire this person? Would you rehire them? Because it's easy, they're going to give you 2 or 3 recommendations for people that are great, but would you rehire them? And what's one thing that you wish they had that they were better at as well? And then the old walk them to their car. Yes, I've got to share, walk people to their car. Why? Because when you're walking someone to the car, it does not matter what kind of car they drive. It doesn't matter. But what's important is when you open the door for them and you look inside the car, and you see how clean the car is. Because the way you do one thing is the way you do anything. And that might be the only glimpse inside the life of them that you get. So when you walk into the car and they're like, oh, she's so nice, he's so nice, he walked me to the car. Folks, I'm nice, but I'm not being nice at that particular time. I want to get a glimpse inside, like, man, what does it look like? So always walk people to the car. Do the best that you can to get as much information as you can, because as my friend Tom Davin, he has shared with me, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And that's an important aspect from a man who has mentored me in a lot of ways, because when he was working out once at my gym, Fitness Quest 10, and he said, he told me that story about walking people to the car, and I added that as and then some. I said, Tom, what do you do for a living anyway? He said, I'm the CEO at Panda Express. I said, oh, the one up the street here on Mira Mesa Boulevard? He laughed and said, no, all of them. I said, oh, snap. How many Panda Expresses are there? He said, 504. I was blown away. Folks, whenever you're around the presence of someone who's led many people, you ask them, what is one leadership tip that you can give me that would help me with my small business as well? And Tom Davin told me, he said, TD is the other TD. He said, TD, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. Make sure the way you live your life at the gym, at home, everywhere you go, it's all congruent, because people are going to see you everywhere you go. At your restaurants, everywhere you go. So the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. I'll never forget that. It's great leadership wisdom from the other TD, Tom Davin. Now, when it comes to specific attracting, hiring, and developing that team, Andrew, that's you in that picture, by the way. You guys can look close. A younger version of Andrew. Players want 3 things. They want recognition, learning, and money. So you've got to make sure you give them those 3 things. You got to recognize them. You got to teach them. That's why we have TFTs, training fellow trainers, even now on Zoom. And compensation plans must be competitive as well. If you've got questions on that, drop them in the Q&A, and I'll answer all of those at the end of today's webinar. They need 3 things, especially right now. Folks, our teammates, regardless of your role, teammates need a lot of encouragement. We're giving a lot of energy right now. Make sure you give your teammates encouragement. Just yesterday, I was giving one of our DOFIs, our Directors of First Impressions. Last night, I was teaching a class. And, man, she's been a trooper. And Brooke's been showing up, and she's been doing an amazing job. And I said, Brooke, I just want to say thank you for the work that you're doing. It's making a difference. You matter. The words "you matter" go a long way. Because many times when you tell a teammate, you tell someone that's close to you that you matter, sometimes you actually see someone well up with emotion and tears because you, as a leader, just shared that with your teammate. You don't have to have a specific title as GM or assistant GM or owner or lead trainer. You don't have to have a title. Anyone within the organization can be a leader for someone else, because what I want is I want a band of cheerleaders at Fitness Quest 10, firing people up, encouraging them, not allowing the word to come from about anything on CNN that is in the newspaper. No, we protect our mind and our bodies. That's leadership to me. Leadership is actually showing up and you feel like, man, let's go. I don't care that the world might be like collapsing right now in our sanctuary, in our lighthouse. We're going to light it up. That's why when I say players need three things, they need training. We need to train them. We need to teach them the culture. They need the feedback. Hey, I just had a young intern with me on the football field this morning with the NFL guys. I'm like, hey, what you have to do is this. Number one, you got to know all 7 of those wideouts, know their names. You make sure that you go up there with humility and you teach them about why did they not run through the end line every time. I want our guys to run through, because the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And if you don't practice running through the end zone, then that's not going to matter. The second thing I said to all of them, including our intern, is this. The good players can speed a game up. The great ones can slow it down. The good ones can speed a game up. The great ones can slow it down. As an athlete, as a player, as an entrepreneur, as a trainer, as a coach, I would share the same thing right now with craziness on the outside. How do we slow the inside down? How do we slow our pacing of our speaking and talking down so people lean in? We talk about leaning into your leadership right now as you listen to me. Perhaps you're thinking about, hey, this is where I could be a better leader on my team. This is how I could support the boss. This is how I could support the owner. This is how I could support my teammates. I could probably do a better job on the private Facebook page delivering content and expecting nothing in return. Here's how I could be a better leader right now. I could reach out to all my clients and text them every single day. That's leadership. Leadership right now when people are down, I want to know who's on my team and going to lift people up. That's leadership. That's giving them that feedback. And then lastly, to feel valued. People want to feel valued. The number one reason why people lead any organization, regardless, not just in fitness, in any organization, is they don't feel valued. They don't feel acknowledged. They don't feel like they matter. So we have to do as great of a job as possible. And this is something, folks, if you're anything like me, I consciously try to do a better job at it, and I'm not always great at it. Why? Because we're all busy. We're busy. We have our to-do lists and our agendas that we've got to fulfill. So even literally, I'll write down my morning routine is like, praise, and I'll put the people I need to literally praise and encourage that day. It could be a text. It could be a voice message when I'm out training in the morning. It could simply be saying thank you to someone at the front desk or to a client or member. So what do they want? What do they need? These are the three things on that. Andrew, anything to add to these?
Yeah. Something that I'm learning that I've been failing at a lot recently as a leader. I was noticing that in team meetings, whether it was leadership meetings or all hands meetings, not many people were piping up and giving their advice, their opinions, things that I really want to hear. And I realized because one of our team members was gracious enough to let me know about something he was learning, I realized I was always the first to give my opinion. And the leader's opinion of the entire team, whether it's the whole organization or a team within a team, that carries the most weight. So if you as the leader are giving your thoughts and opinions first, I've learned the hard way, you're not gonna have a lot of people piping up. So what I'm doing now is I'm posing the idea, the question, and then I'm always making sure I'm the last one to pipe in and give my opinion. And it's those little things that make people feel valued, because what makes a person feel valued? When you give them your time, your attention, and when you ask them questions and ask for their advice. So that's all I would add on that one, Todd. I think you covered just about everything there.
Yeah, and I like that. Simon Sinek talks about leaders eat last. He's got that book, Leaders Eat Last. And, when you look at the military, you look at the generals and the lieutenant colonels and the colonels, leaders eat last. They let their troops eat first. So think about even now, how do you put other people first? How do you be more of a servant leader? Especially if you started as a one-person show and you've grown and gotten bigger and bigger. Leaders eat last. Keep going, Andrew. Let me have a sip of water.
Yeah. Well, I think that's exactly right. As soon as it becomes more than just you actually have to think about influencing people to get them to buy in now. And I found even if you don't end up using their idea, just the fact that their voice was heard they will buy into your idea that much quicker. Things that most of us know, but I think that we all need reminders a lot of the times.
Amen. 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 I needed a little hydration break right there, a little fuel. I had my almonds, my mouth was all dry. I was leading so much. By the way, leadership is tiring. Leadership is tiring, but it's inspiring. You know what I'm talking about? Because when you're leading and you're giving, sometimes like, whoa, what about me? And you're like drowning and your water level's right up to here. Leading can be tiring, but it can be very, very inspiring when you have a vision, you have a mission, and you want to fulfill that mission. You have the people around you and you understand what makes those people tick. I think it's important. So when you look at some of those examples of those questions on this, here's some of those questions. Again, you're going to have the complete list just for being on this webinar. You get all of these questions, and please don't say what do you know about Fitness Quest 10 or Todd Durkin Enterprises. Use your business name. Use your company. You don't want to use my company on that, obviously. But hey, what makes your soul sing? Tell me something about what is the most challenging time of your life that you ever have gone through. Hey, tell me about one of your mentors, and tell me about your best practices. What makes you a special person? And what is your goal someday? So depending on what their answers are, you're trying to communicate with them so that you can keep, say, is this the person that I want to attract to my team? Because you don't find great people, you find good people and you make them great. And how do you keep people growing? So what do you do to keep people growing on this stuff? There's several ways to keep people growing. Training fellow trainers. We do this monthly. My man Jesse Dietrich, one of the leaders at Fitness Quest 10, he actually runs our monthly educational program to train people. And some of you right now are like, yeah, but Todd, what if I grow them so much they grow right out the door? Andrew said that earlier on. I used to think like that. Wow, if I grow them so much, they're going to leave. You ever thought about if you don't grow them, they're going to leave? Have you ever thought about, matter of fact, as you grow them, your company and vision grows? One of the reasons why Fitness Quest 10 and my corporate brand has grown is because my people have grown, because we put a lot of time into their education and their ability to manifest and flourish as human beings as well. Andrew, let's talk about this right here. How do you keep people growing?
So I love that you said that, because I think I heard it from Dave Ramsey, who said, what if you don't grow them and they stay?
Or they stay.
What if they stay and you haven't grown them? Then you've got incompetent or less than optimized team members. Education, obviously a big one. We don't actually have a specific amount of dollars allotted for each person each year, because we don't want our team members to just look at it and be like, oh, I've got $500. I can just, maybe I'll just go to this conference. We have taught our team members to have the desire and be passionate about whatever it is they want to learn about first, and then come to us and practice their influence, their ability to influence by sharing with us why it's a good idea for the company for them to go to that conference or get that certification. But yeah, I love the training, monthly trainer trainings. We do those as well, which is huge. Increase their roles and responsibilities. You'd be amazed how, for example, we have one of our guys who is a handyman, and I recognized a couple things on the training floor that needed to be tightened up, or bolts that needed to be tightened and whatnot. And I failed initially, because I went to him and I said, hey man, could you start to tighten up the equalizer bars and the squat racks each week? And then I stopped and I thought about it. I'm like, why wouldn't I make him the director of facility performance and maintenance?
I love it.
Different title, but it empowers him and makes him feel like such a more important team member. So increase their roles and responsibilities. The words that you use to describe those roles could actually matter as well. Compensation plans. And this is where we can talk about, I don't know how deep you want me to go into this profit sharing plan. It's been a 4 to 5 year work in progress for us. What do you want me to share on this, Todd?
Share as much as you can that you want to share, because I'll tell you what, as I said earlier on, folks, there is no one that does profit sharing that I know of in the fitness industry. And Andrew has a complete profit sharing plan that I've worked with him on over the last several years. At least at a macro level, so people can understand there are other ways to run business and to run a vision, so that everyone's all in and bought in. And it's a very, very incredible thing that you've created, Andrew. So as much as you want to share, let's talk about it for a few minutes.
Yeah. I'll get into the X's and O's of it, but I guess before I even share it, it's based on team members displaying an owner's mentality. One of the things that I recognized early on in opening up a business is that I did not want to be the only one on the team that treated it like it was mine. If you've ever heard this before, I think all of us have heard it in one form or another, but no one on your team will ever care as much as you do. I don't believe that in my heart. And because I don't believe that, my team members have felt over time more and more like they do care about it as much as I do. So that it starts with the belief that people do care as much as you, the owner, cares. But with the profit sharing plan, we've gone through 3 iterations. I believe we are now at the one that makes the most sense, that's the most scalable, because we got to the point where we were giving away like 70% of the profits, and I was like, oh goodness, this isn't good. But so anyway, so we have this rating system that you see here to the right, and it shows 4 out of I think we've got 15 questions, 6 different categories of what it means to be an owner of our business. Everything from how well are you doing at closing sales and getting people into the doors? That's part of it. But then even on the end of, are you cleaning up after yourself when you go into the bathroom? Are you straightening things up? So it covers a whole range of different things that we've defined as having an owner's mentality. And each quarter, our team members get assessed on this, and they've got to achieve a certain percentage to pass. And once they pass, they earn shares. So we based on responsibilities, we give away anywhere from a quarter of a share all the way up to 3 shares you can earn. And there's other intricacies and details.
I love it.
But yeah, it's been the most powerful part of our business, because I can't tell you how many times a guest will come into our doors. We call our clients guests. Thank you, Disney. A guest will come into our doors and have no clue who owns the place.
That's great. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. So how long has it taken you to create that? 5 years?
Yeah, 5. It's going on 5 years, 4 years, about 4 years since we started it.
So, folks, as you're looking at this and hearing this, if you have the vision to do that, realize it's taken years and years of investment of Andrew's time and energy. Feel free, not that he's giving it out, but if you have questions on how you could create your own profit sharing plan. Again, when he presented at my mentorship last year, it was like, wow, I've never seen anything like this. But the bottom line is, you do want an ownership mentality. So there's lots of ways to compensate people, whether you choose to go in this direction or not. But I think it's a really important aspect. And when you think about this, overall right now, as I wrap things up, how do the best leaders lead right now? What are the best leaders doing right now? And I've just got 13 points. Number 1, you got to be committed to the vision. You got to communicate. What are we telling our people? Folks, we must speak and not be afraid to speak with where we're at. That includes finances. If you're struggling right now because the last 4 months have kicked your butt, you've got to communicate where it's down. And it could mean that if things keep going in the direction, here are some of the cutbacks that we may need to make, because we want that all-in mentality. We want people stepping up, not stepping down. The best leaders make those gut decisions. Remember, it could all make sense on the spreadsheet, but it's got to make sense in your gut as well. It's got to feel right. The best leaders, they make good hires and they cultivate greatness. Cultivate it like a garden. You got to make sure that you are constantly giving people your best, and that people are being raised up, because leaders set high expectations. Leaders walk their talk, and they raise people up. The best leaders also care. I said this yesterday, and you've heard this before about they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. We got to care more. We got to win the caring game. Leaders listen. I believe one of the most common mistakes that young leaders make is they talk too much. They're always forecasting out what they believe versus listening. As we get some experience behind this, you begin to listen. Leaders show emotion. A level 5 leader shows emotion. Show your heart right now. Show it. Don't be afraid to change if it's going to help the organization. Right now, it's a dark time in many, many, many places. The best leaders right now are stepping up, and they're leading at the darkest times. Show up. Show up. Leaders lead through change and the tough times. Leaders develop other leaders, and leaders exemplify love. John Wooden talks about this, the great late John Wooden. And Coach Wooden talks about love. If he was to redo his book, The Pyramids of Success, the only word that he left out in the pyramid with hard work, enthusiasm at the cornerstones was the word love. And he said that word should have been smack in the middle of the book. Okay, right in the middle of that pyramid should be that. So leading right now, I want you to make sure that you lead with your eyes, not just your ears. I want you to lead with your eyes, not just your ears. What does that mean? Well, you might hear things, but I want you to see things. And I want you to see things and come to understand through the eyes what people are feeling. Listen with your heart. Show the empathy and the compassion. Words that I often meditate on is, how can I be a man of more empathy and compassion and love, and lead from that side? Lead one's head right now. We talk about the head of get your mind right, get your mind right, get your mind right. We got to be smart. That means we need to come back to our best practices of what we're doing so we can lead with the head right now. And this is a reminder. Most of you men and women out there have families at home. And regardless of your business right now is flourishing and thriving or it's really floundering, there's nothing more important than that hat you wear at home to your spouse, to your kids, if you have kids, to those that you represent right now. It's absolutely essential as we lead right now that we're showing up at home and work and spending time with the people that you love the most. And lastly, you got to lead yourself. My friends, I declare my leadership manifesto today. It's this. It all starts from your leadership of yourself, because when you lead yourself, you can lead others. When you lead others, they can go out and create the impact that they want. It's going to be tough right now. It's tough times. It's dark times. But the biggest and best leaders right now are going to step up. They're going to step up, and people I can count on like you all over the world, all over the globe, who are listening live right now or listen later on via recording, regardless of the month or the year that you listen to this, is these are all principles that when you light up your heart, you light up your soul, you light up your mind, and you connect your head, your heart, your soul, all of a sudden now, man, you start saying, guess what? I am a fire-breathing dragon. I am a leader. Am I ever going to be perfect? No, I'm never going to be perfect. We're never going to be perfect as leaders. But that's why we're all human beings, because when you lead with smarts, with wisdom, with experience, you have your vision, your mission, and your credo, then all of a sudden, great things start happening. And I believe when you do that, then you can create impact. And to me, the whole leadership manifesto is this. A leader of one, a leader of many. If you can't lead one, you can't lead any. Now's the time for each and every one of us to step up and to do great things in this industry. So my question is, who are you leading right now? How are you leading yourself? If you were to pipe down in your journal or even in the chat room if you'd like to, is what are those things that you're doing right now to lead yourself to greatness? And what are the things that you're doing for your business right now? Whether you work at a gym, at a studio, at a club, what are you doing to help lead them out of the chaos, out of the craziness, to make sure that your community is being served? Because leadership is serving. It's serving your community. Keep asking yourself, how can I better serve my clients, my members today? How can I serve the clients and members who are not my clients, but the trainer next to me? How can I lead the vendors who I work with who serve my company? How can I step up for them as well? To me, who are you leading right now? Because when you do that, well, all of a sudden, you find harmony and you find fulfillment. And at the end of the day, isn't that we're all looking? We're all looking for that. We're all looking for fulfillment at the end of the day, to say, well done, good and faithful servant, that you served your purpose. You served your potential, because all of you have a certain amount of potential like I do. And I only know if I'm fulfilling my potential, just like only you know if you're fulfilling your potential. So when you think about your potential today, you take notes. I want you to share later on. As a matter of fact, if you haven't taken a picture yet and share it on social media, I want you to take a picture, and I want you to share the one lesson you learned from today's webinar about leadership. What's the action step? Whatever Andrew said or I said, listen, there's a lot of wisdom and experience being exchanged here. But most importantly, it's the action that you take for your business and your life that makes a difference. And I want you to share that on social media. And I want you to tag Andrew, I want you to tag me, and even hit @California Almonds, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here right now. So you think about your action step for leadership. What's it going to be? And as you do that right now, I'm going to start to go into the Q&A. But first, I want to say, Andrew, thank you so much for being here today, man. Unbelievable job.
Thank you, TD. Appreciate it.
Andrew, where can folks find you on social media? Where's the best place? On Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah, Facebook, my tag is Andrew Simpson04, and then on Instagram it's Coach Andrew PFP. Coach Andrew PFP.
Coach Andrew PFP on that. Guys, pick up his book. He's doing amazing things. And we're going to go into the Q&A, but I want to say, Andrew, thank you. Thank you, California Almonds. This is the second of our 4-part webinar series, all on leadership. Next week, when we go into marketing and we go into the hybrid business, I want you to continue to ask these great questions you're asking, because you guys are doing a kick-butt job on this. So here we go. We got some great questions coming. I've got Julie here. First one, I'm a trainer among other trainers at my facility who desires to move up. Fantastic, Eddie. I don't have the authority to call meetings together, but what could I do to lift my teammates out of complacency? Ooh, this is called leadership. This is great. So, Eddie, what I would say is this. Every single thing you do, you impact people, you train. The way you train people is this. What I say is great coaches have the universal coaching position. It's not this. It's not the authoritarian. But the universal coaching position, the best way to lead other trainers and influence people is the universal coaching position when you're down with you're on your hands like this, and you can probably see right here, you're like this, and you're giving energy, and you imagine that 3-foot tube from your belly button to their belly button. You give energy. And then you set the expectations because of the way you're doing it. I don't think you always have to go around just preaching it and singing it. But I would also, if you want to lead and grow in your organization, go to your owner, go to the boss, go to the leader and say, I would like to continue contributing to the organization. What are your needs? How can I best serve? Is it on social media? Is it as are there other needs that you have outside here that I can help with? Because all of a sudden, as an owner, as a leader, you start to say, hey, Eddie's all in. Eddie's willing to do whatever it takes to lead and grow. Then all of a sudden you start growing. Or, and this happened to me before and I love it, is you put a proposal together and say, here's how I can see myself growing. I'd like to become the director of athletic programs, or whatever it may be. Now you start to move up because they're like, why wouldn't I do that? I love when my team says, I'd like to grow within Fitness Quest 10. Here's how I think I can better help. Fantastic. That's called leadership. That's why even now we've got multiple leaders on many levels, is because even our front desk people, I'm always looking at how can they grow? What can they do to become better? So fantastic question right there. What if you have Shelly, what if you have a bad leader and a good team? How do we get that one person that's in a leadership role to get on board with the coaches? That's a tough situation. I think it comes down to, is that person who's a quote bad leader, are they a growth-minded person? Are they open and willing to read Andrew's book? That's one way to do it. The youth truth. But it's constantly trying to give that person opportunities to grow as well, so they understand, and you communicating with them in a very formal setting, once a week meeting, once a month meeting, whatever that may be, to say, here's our strengths, here's our weaknesses, here's how we can better serve our people. So the more that you can help that person, hey, the bottom line is this: if that person is the wrong person, then ultimately, hopefully, the decision maker can get that person out of there. Right? Because sometimes you just can't change people, and you're pulling your hair out. You're doing everything right. The team is good, and they're like, oh, this coach is killing me. They're doing nothing but yelling and screaming, and they're not offering any coaching. They think by yelling and screaming, they're actually doing something good. No, they're not. So, Andrew, anything to add to that? Because that's a great question. That's right up your alley.
Yeah, I do. So everybody wants something. So that bad leader, he wants something. And so if you can pause long enough and put enough thought into thinking about what is it that he wants, and then you can help him get it, you'll immediately increase your influence with that person. And I recommend picking up the 360-Degree Leader by John Maxwell, where he talks about very practical strategies on how to lead up, how to lead across, and how to lead down. But the number one thing is trying to understand and appreciate that leader's world and figure out what it is that he wants most, and then figure out how to help him get it.
Good. Gary, question: how do you lead effectively when the contact with clients are divided between physical gatherings and virtual? That's a great question. What I would say is it's going to be just coming down to pure communication and dropping the expectations that you want people to do on virtual, what time they need to show up for the meeting, virtual or physical, whatever it may be. And then that they actually follow through with the initiatives that are shared on that Zoom meeting or whatever, however you're meeting virtually. that they're actually following through with the expectations. Folks, because of the new world we live in right now, with so much, even in the fitness world, being done on Zoom and virtual, it certainly just never replaces the power of a live session, but there are lots of Zoom and virtual sessions going on right now. I think the most important thing when having a meeting, like with our team at Fitness Quest 10, what we do is we'll have a meeting. There's an agenda. And on that agenda, I also want to have action steps for our team to take. So it's not just kind of like we're having a meeting to meet, but what are the action steps that are necessary so that so-and-so, we want to make 7 social media posts this week doing this. We want to make sure we're going to start to open up our live trainings. Kira, you're going to be responsible for setting the schedule for here and actually making some decisions that will help as well. Anything to add to Gary's question, Andrew?
I think you probably hit it. I don't think I fully understood what he was looking to get from that question. So you probably, you covered it.
And another question on that is, like it's related. How do you motivate? Oh, this is good, guys. Listen to this one. Type in your answers, folks. What do you do to motivate and encourage your teammates during times of interruption and transition like the COVID shutdowns? Andrew, I'll start with you and I'll finish on that. How do you motivate and encourage your teammates during times of interruption and transition like this?
I'll tell you what, it's not the most scalable or time-effective way, but one thing I did was I met for 1 hour, probably week 3 or 4 of shutdown. I met for a full hour with every single one of our team members and helped them dig deep into what their personal why was. And we had people, I had people crying on, Zooms with me, just team members. So again, it kind of goes back to everybody always wants something. So figuring out what your team members want the most, and even if you can't help them get exactly what they want, just by knowing that you do care about what they want, by you spending the time with them one-on-one, they'll give you more. They'll give you, if you can help enough other people get what they want, Zig Ziglar says you can have everything you want. So I think that's where my mind goes first, is one-to-one connection time. Show them how much you care, and then they will be more motivated. They'll give you more.
Love it. Love it. Morgan Wolf, yes, we'll get those 15 questions for the interview. Matter of fact, folks, if you are signed up for this webinar, you're going to get all 4 webinars. Make sure you sign for all 4. You're going to have the opportunity to get all 4 webinars after the fact, so you can listen to them over and over again for the next year if you want to on that. So great question, Megan. Thank you very much on that. And Morgan, great question as well. Love it, love it, love it. At some point, can you review how to get CEUs through ACE on that? Yeah, next week when it's all over, you're going to get an email with all of the ways for you to get your 0.4 CEUs for ACE. So, and remember, Tuesday, our next one, I'll have today's winner, if you were here live today, for the year's worth of almonds for one of your clients or members on that. So, could Andrew share his ownership mindset for his profit sharing with us? I'm super curious about it. Could Andrew share his ownership mindset for his profit sharing with us?
I would say go ahead and email me. Email me, andrew@pfpfit.com, and I will see what I can get you over for sure.
Okay, there you go. And someone also asked you for your Instagram handle again, Andrew?
Coach Andrew PFP.
Bingo. Bingo, bingo, bingo. Some great questions, guys, but because of time, I'm just going to say thank you very much. Again, a few things. Yesterday's winner was Tim Urbanic. Tim Urbanic for yesterday's almonds. So thank you. I want to thank all of you for being here today. I want to thank California Almonds for just powering this 4-part webinar series and making it all happen. It's been a lot of work to put this together, but I wanted to declare my manifesto. Yesterday's was all on business best practices. Today's on leadership. Tuesdays is going to be on marketing in the digital era, a new era. And then on next Wednesday, is all on the hybrid gym. And it takes a team, right? It takes a team effort, and I couldn't do this alone. There's a lot of people behind the scenes that are making this happen, including you showing up. So I just want to remind you this as I leave. Is that leadership of all of the things that we do is probably the most difficult. And I'll start with at home. Because it's easy. Like for me, I can work all day and I'd be like, man, it's hard, but it's fulfilling. The most challenging thing to do is leading at home, but the most important thing to do is if you've got kids, you got a spouse, you've got to make sure you put time into it, right, so that you don't lose that, or you work on the relationship that matter most. But in your professional life, when you're dealing with 3, 4, 5, 10, 35, whatever it may be, teammates, some of you have hundreds that are on here, so thank you for some of you larger clubs being on here. I see some of your names piping in. We had close to 100 people on here today. We've got people of all varying sizes. The bottom line is this. I believe that as you lead yourself and you grow yourself in all areas of your life, and you show up and you're genuine, you're authentic, you genuinely care, and you're transparent, and you share firmly, but always in the best interest of the organization that your vision is best served, then I believe that you're going to find the success and the significance that you desire so that your vision can be fulfilled. Because I imagine that your vision encompasses you influencing and impacting thousands of people. Perhaps like my purpose in life, what drives me is to someday impact 10 million people. But it's about that vision of how do I show up or what do I do? And you're part of that. By taking this information and wisdom that you learned today or heard from or got reinforced today, reminders is the most important thing you can do is to take action when you ask yourself this question: how could I be a better leader today? What can I do both personally and professionally to lead the people in my home, to lead the people in my studio, club, or gym, to lead the people at my church, lead the people wherever you congregate, wherever you hang out. It's how can I lead? Because everywhere you go, you're leading. Because after all, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So on behalf of the California Almond Board, I want to say thank you for being here. Andrew, thank you once again for being here and dropping all your knowledge as well. Guys, I can't recommend highly enough to reach out to Andrew. Follow him on social media. He truly is one of the best leaders I know. For being such a young man, this guy is far beyond his years. Trust me, I've known him now for, since 2014, 6-7 years. And he just continually grows and grows and grows. But I want to hear from you. I want to know what's pushing you to the next level in your own leadership as well. Don't forget, if you can share on your social media what we just covered today, would be awesome. And we've had people literally all over from the U.S., Canada, Australia, Brazil, Kuwait in here today live. I know more will be listening later on. But on your social media, please share what you're doing, what you're committed to do to lead your life. And if you'd like to tag Andrew and myself and that California Almonds, I'd love to see what you're working on, because after all, the world needs stronger and better leaders more than ever before. And as lighthouses and as life transformers, your calling is now. Let's all rise up and be ready for what challenges lie ahead. Peace. God bless you guys, and I'll see you next Tuesday right here for part 3 on marketing in a new era. Peace, guys. Have a great day, and keep leading. Peace.